First off, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has fixed Saturday, January 16, 2027 for the presidential and National Assembly elections. The Commission had earlier fixed Saturday, February 20, 2027 for the presidential and National Assembly elections and Saturday, March 6, 2027 for the governorship and state houses of assembly elections pursuant to the Electoral Act 2022. However, INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman Information and Voter Education Committee, Mohammed Haruna, in a statement in Abuja, said the governorship and state houses of its assembly elections would now hold on Saturday, February 6, 2027. Meanwhile, while declaring that Nigeria's democracy is facing imminent danger, leaders of the country's major opposition parties are calling for the immediate amendment of the Electoral Act 2026, insisting that several of its provisions threaten the integrity of the 2027 general elections. They say statistics available to them show that election results can be transmitted from every polling unit, and they wondered why the manual proviso should be included in the Act. Arise News correspondent Abidemi Sikiru has more.
It's a meeting of Nigerian top opposition leaders who are meeting to brainstorm on the recently signed Electoral Act 2026. The cross-party meeting has prominent political figures like former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi, former Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi, National Chairman of African Democratic Congress, ADC David Mark, and ADC National Secretary Rauf Aregbesola, among others. National Chairman of the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, Ajoji Ahmed, who read the communique, accuses President Bola Tinubu and the APC-led National Assembly of rushing the legislation in a manner capable of undermining electoral transparency, faulting Section 60, subsection 3 of the Act, which weakens electronic transmission of results and grants excessive discretion to electoral officers.
We therefore state unequivocally that the new Electoral Act is anti-democratic and its implementation will undermine electoral transparency and sanctity of the ballot box. It is part of the ongoing design by the Tinubu-led APC administration to disorganize and weaken of the opposition, corrupt the electoral system, compromise democratic institutions, and foist a totalitarian one-party rule in Nigeria.
Let me say or advise that the speech delivered by the chairman of NNPP be sent to all the embassies, particularly the Western democratic embassies, as the position of the Nigerian opposition political parties.
They also rejected amendment limiting political parties to direct primaries and consensus, describing it as an intrusion into the internal affairs of parties and a move aimed at destabilizing opposition platforms ahead of 2027.
What is the problem with transmitting results instantly? Why is it a difficult issue? Unless there is something there that the rest of us don't know. And of course, there must be something. We can see it from FCT election. Level of thuggery that have been introduced into politics now. It has never been this much. But their desperation won't take them too far. As you heard from the address, we're prepared for the shenanigans.
Insecurity, killings and abductions is worse than even countries at war. Just in the past 1 week, 34 in Kebbi, Wednesday, Thursday, 50 in Zamfara on Friday, and today, even while we're speaking today, over 20 already in Adamawa.
The leader cited the recent FCT area council elections as a test run, alleging irregularities and expressing concern over low voters' turnout, which they said reflects declining public trust in the electoral system.
When I was in government in Buhari's time, Buhari wanted electoral reform. So a few ministers went to him, convinced him not to sign, that if he signed, Russia will hack the system and impose the wrong president on us. And he refused to sign. The same people are now shouting electoral reform. Tinubu will one day shout for electoral reform.
Speakers emphasized the need for unity among opposition parties and called on the judiciary, civil society, and Nigerians to defend democratic institutions. Abidemi Sekiru, Arise News.
In other news, a joint investigative hearing by both chambers of the National Assembly on President Bola Tinubu's Executive Order 9, mandating the direct remittance of oil and gas revenues to the Federation account, was stalled on Thursday after the Minister of Petroleum, Heineken Lukubiri, requested more time to prepare his defense. The hearing was jointly organized by the Senate and House of Representatives Committees on Petroleum Resources and Gas. Lawmakers had convened the session to seek explanations on the President's executive order concerning oil revenues and its implications for Nigeria's petroleum industry. Aside from Lukubiri, others in attendance were the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Bayo Ojulari, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, Orishemeyiwa Eyeson. However, minutes into the session, Lukubiri appealed to the lawmakers for more time to study relevant documents, stating that he and his team had not yet obtained the necessary materials to adequately defend the president's action. Moving on, the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has called for people of Ishekiri ethnic nationality and other Nigerians to unite so as to ensure the development and progress of the nation. Senator Tinubu made the call in Warri during the royal homecoming reception in her honor at the Palace of the Olu of Warri. Correspondent Andy Omano has the details.
Warri, the commercial capital of Delta State, momentarily stands still following the visit of Senator Tinubu, a respected daughter of the Ishekiri ethnic nationality. Expectedly, the visit to the palace of the revered monarch of Warri was not only a homecoming for the president's wife, but an opportunity for collaboration on cultural preservation. The mammoth crowd at the Expanse Palace of the Olu of Warri went into a frenzy once their daughter and her entourage arrived at the venue at about 2:30 p.m. Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborowori had arrived 5 minutes earlier. The First Lady, whose unwritten speech was mostly in Ishekiri language, told the jubilant crowd that she's always proud of her Ishekiri heritage and called on them to close ranks no matter their political or religious leaning.
The Ishekiri culture is something that has influenced me over the years. And whomever I am today stems from the upbringing, the culture, the teaching. From the airport, I'm overwhelmed. For the non-speaking Shakiris, I'm overwhelmed. And I want to thank you. I know you've not eaten and you are still, the energy is there. We've not all eaten. But today is a day of joy, a day of great rejoicing. And I want to thank Ogiame for the title he bestowed on me.
The governor of Delta State was full of praises for the First Lady, whom he describes as a worthy daughter of Warri Kingdom, an ambassador of Delta State, and a global citizen who has also supported his administration. He challenged all Delta indigenes living outside the state to emulate Senator Tinubu for her courage, humility, and people-centered initiatives.
Your Excellency, ma'am, we all see and acknowledge your initiatives for the poor and vulnerable across the country. Nigerians are blessed to have a humble and compassionate First Lady who genuinely cares for the downtrodden in our communities.
For the revered monarch of Warri Kingdom, the First Lady's homecoming was significant because it coincides with the period when both Christians and their Muslim counterparts are observing both Lent and the Ramadan. According to him, the First Lady's achievements, personality, and humility have brought honor to the Shekiri ethnic nationality.
God did not make a mistake when he positioned us in various parts of the corner of this country and determined that we would be neighbors. So today, as the heavens and even religious systems are in alignment, your coming heralds the alignment that is coming for all of us in this land. The heavens indeed declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. We are reminded yet again of God's love and particular concern to us for a people. And I thank you, Your Excellency, for leading the way and showing the example with a heart to truly unify.
Some other dignitaries who witnessed the First Lady's homecoming bear their mind.
We, the Shekiris, you all know that when we have children with any man, any part of the world, they have the genes of humility, tenacity, hard work, transparency.
You can see the entire city is full of joy and happiness to see that one of the daughters of the kingdom is serving the nation very, very well.
One major highlight of the homecoming visit was the conferment of 3 different traditional chieftaincy titles on the First Lady by the Shekiri Council of Chiefs on behalf of the 21st Olu of Warri.
Well, congratulations to the Utukwa Ishekiri, Senator Oluwemi Tinubu. Moving on, Samsung has launched the Galaxy S26 series, touting it as the most proactive and adaptive AI-powered smartphone experience yet. The lineup, including the S26, S26 Plus, and S26 Ultra, promises to simplify daily tasks by reducing effort and steps required to get things done. With Galaxy AI handling complex tasks in the background, users can focus on results rather than technicalities. Arise News correspondent Fadesola Shotinwa has details.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our newest miracle baby, Samsung Galaxy S26 series. Please, can we give you a round of resounding applause, ladies and gentlemen? This is not just
The Galaxy S26 series boasts impressive upgrades, including a customized chipset, enhanced thermal management, and advanced intuitive camera capabilities. The S26 Ultra features wider camera apertures for improved low-light photography, enhanced night video, and support for the APV video codec for professional-grade video production. The AI-powered editing tools make creativity more accessible, allowing users to edit photos and videos with ease.
We are very excited because this will be first AI device. We are not talking about the smartphone anymore. We are talking about the smart AI phone. And then we very happy to deliver this high technology to Nigerian people. So we will continue develop our technology to help to Nigeria.
This Galaxy S26 series represents one of the most, the biggest leaps for us in Galaxy. A lot of innovative features. One of the things it's going to help users do is to navigate complex tasks in real time. So what it will help you also do is while it's providing assistance to you with the press of just a button on the side, it helps you provides assistance for you while you continue doing your work on the device. So ensure ensuring continuous workflow. And then one of my personal favorites, which is the privacy display screen. Amazing, where even if you're standing shoulder to shoulder, people can't see what's on your screen once you activate it. And even if you do not activate it, when you get into certain apps, sensitive apps like your banking apps that require your password, it automatically makes your screen darker such that people can see what's on your screen.
After you're done, the series prioritizes security and privacy, introducing the industry's first built-in privacy display, protecting users' content from pre-spying eyes. Other features include AI-powered call screening, privacy alerts, and private album for secure photo storage.
In the area that we're in, of course, we are all security conscious, especially now that we're talking about AI functionality, the cameras and the like. So security is very, very, very important. And because of that, we prioritize our technology. We ensure that our technology is well fortified. I mean, of course, beneficial to users as well. So some of the features in terms of security that we've done is the ability to actually process your device, your data, right on your phone and decide whether or not you want it to go to the cloud. And even when you eventually decide to, take your data up there to the cloud, of the device is automatically end-to-end protected. One good thing about the privacy display is it lets you decide which application you want it to work on. For instance, your banking app, you don't want people to see all those notifications popping up here and there, or trying to see the amount that is coming in or going out. Your privacy display automatically makes your affairs really private.
We've moved from the era of smartphone to AI device. Now with this new S26 series, what we are doing is to have a personal adaptive agentic device. And what do I mean by that? This is a device that has broken the friction between intention and action. We are equally with this new device moving from an ordinary operating system to an AI operating system. Imagine a device that we offer everyday seamless action for you.
The Galaxy S26 series also integrates well with the new Galaxy Buds 4, offering immersive full-spectrum sound with high-fidelity playback, enabling seamless interactions on the go. Pre-orders for Galaxy S26 series start February 25th, with prices ranging from $899 to $1,299. Fadishola Shotingwa, Arise News.
All right, congratulations, Samsung. Well, Rufai, this morning we have a number of stories before us. Today, I said earlier on, congratulations to the Utukpa Ishekiri. Do you know what that means?
Utukpa.
Light of God of Ishekiri, of the Weri Kingdom.
So you know it's like a version of Atukpa.
Yes. And it was such a colorful ceremony. I was watching it live on Arise yesterday. But, big stories this morning around the coalition of opposition parties, if I can put it that way. That's COOP, Coalition of Opposition Parties, releasing a statement with regards to the Electoral Act of 2026, amongst other stories. Your take on it?
You call them Coalition of Opposition Parties?
COOP.
I call them Coalition of Opposition Jokers.
Kuj.
Is money just breaking? 8 days after the president signed this bill into law, they are now. The question we should ask them is, what did they do about the process when it started? They have members in the National Assembly. Do they call all their members and say, ensure you stand your ground? And kudos to those members that did stand their ground.
Yeah.
But did they call them together? Is it by going to take turns in protests in front of the National Assembly? That was the case. What did they do extra? After the thing has been signed into law, now you are coming out and saying, we reject this for democracy. And you were looking where they were doing it. I'm sorry, we don't have opposition. It's not opposition we have. We have a coalition of jokers. We have a coalition of people that are so entitled. They believe power is their birthright. They just barely left governments, and they are not used to being out of government for so long. So they put themselves together, and today they are saying opposition. And that's why I keep telling them, APC even did better opposition than what they are doing today. It is how to hold government accountable, All of a sudden, they are now saying, oh, they passed a law that they against the direct or indirect primaries that is going to cause division in their political party. It's going to prevent them. Beg your pardon. It's going to prevent them from being able to pick their candidates, that the ruling opposition party wants to stop them from all of that. Why are you saying it now? When they pushed it forward, why didn't you fight against it? Why are you taking 8 days after the president hurriedly signing it into law? Yes, the other one they made a very good point. As regards the mandatory transmission, we all know that the government and the APC are lying as regards that. We've given them all the data. They can't even dispute it. We've given them INEC data with NCC that you can actually get over 95, 96, 97% transmission in all the area. We've even given them empirical data by Okoye, Festus Okoye, that was in INEC then, that said that before they started using it, they have mapped out every area, that there is no part or there's no polling unit where you are not going to have it. You're not going to be able to have transmission. And even in a worst case scenario, it's still going to go in there. So the government hurriedly signing this into law shows that they are not confident in a free and fair election. That's what it just shows. And why they put that proviso is because they know that one of their plots will be that there must be network problems on that day of the election. And you will see it. That's why they put in that proviso to favor them. Because if you have nothing to hide, have the law directly. There's no need for any proviso. The facts are overwhelming, but they will not do it. But the opposition's docility is equally a big problem. That's why, with respect, I call them a coalition of jokers. Please, what's the next story?
So there's the one about the EO9, Executive Order 9, the legislative.
As regards that,
and then the new electoral timetable.
As regards that, with due respect, whatever they are doing about the EO9, I put in a lot of rigor into my thought process. I disagree with President Tinubu on many things, but on this he's right. No matter how much you put the argument back and forth, the Constitution is the ground norm. The Constitution will always supersede. So let's forget the talk about the PIE, that the influence that they thought they were going to constantly use. Once he passed the test of constitutionality, other arguments are null and void. And this thing is for the interest of this country. And if you also want to stretch the argument further, the logic presupposes that with all the monies the NNPC has collected in all these rooms, they have not used it effectively. So it is also to stop the tide of corruption within the fold of the NNPC. And those are the things we are saying. Then what we can now hold the government accountable for in this argument is that you are collecting revenue, you are equally not using it. So the NNPC you are trying to side court, you are equally as complicit at the NNPC, and that's why we must hold them accountable. I think that's the argument. And as regards the January timetable, maybe more, they are saying I should wrap up, maybe in more proceedings we'll talk about it.
Perhaps. Okay, very quickly. Let's start by congratulating the First Lady on the honor she received from her mother's place, that's Iwere Kingdom, popularly known as Warri. The title is Utukpa Orishe of Iwere Kingdom, the first person in the history of that kingdom to be so honored. With the king, the monarch, describing that's the Olu of Warri, describing her as a reputable daughter. It will appear that this is a season of honor for the First Lady of Nigeria. And all the persons there, admitted that this is honor well deserved. The governor of Berawuri referred to her as a global icon. Other people were full of praises for her. And I say it's a season of honor because early this month, she was referred to as a very, very respectable leader from Nigeria by President Trump in what was clearly a recognition and a commendation. Now, this same month, the Christian Association of Nigeria, the Lagos branch, decided to name their headquarters after her. By April, a decision has also been taken to have in the same Delta State what they call Oluremi Tinubu Golf Classic, named after her to honor her. And we congratulate her She's been very supportive of the president of the country. She's been very active promoting the renewed hope agenda. She has shown that even if the position of the first lady is not in the constitution, there is nothing wrong in a wife supporting her husband. And she's been very supportive. And she has shown that she's not just a piece of decoration in the presidential villa. She's a woman who in her own capacity has experience, an exposure, having served previously as Senator of the Federal Republic. Now, to move quickly to the Senate inquiry into Executive Order 9. That Executive Order 9, when it was proposed by the President, was to correct opaqueness in NNPCL finances, to ensure transparency, accountability, and to also ensure that omissions, areas where the PIA will appear contradictory to Section 162 of the 1999 Constitution, that is corrected. The President not only signed that executive order, he also set up a committee to inquire into how the PIA can be looked into. However, it is also within the right of the Senate or the Joint Committee of the National Assembly, as it were, to inquire and to seek explanations in the interest of the Nigerian people. They being direct representatives of the Nigerian people. So they are doing their job, whether you call it oversight or just seeking explanations. However, the process was not seen through, I think yesterday, because the persons that were summoned, Anikin Lokubiri, Minister of State Petroleum, said that the notice was short, but they had to show up himself, the NNPCL the Group Managing Director, Ujulari, the head of NUPRC, Mrs. Urisemeyiwa Eyeson, they were there, but they said, well, let us go and study the documents. Let's go and look at the materials, and then we will come back here. And of course, the lawmakers all agreed and said they will communicate a second date to them. But it's important for this to be discussed because at the end of the day, a bill will still go back to that same National Assembly for a review of the Petroleum Industry Act. And it's not just about revenue. There are other issues about frontier exploration, about the rights of host communities. All of those other details will need to be looked into. So I think it's a procedural thing. As for the political parties, now, better late than never, every election cycle, the Electoral Act is discussed, either before or after. It doesn't matter that they are just bringing their grievances to the table now. Whether they do it next year or 2 years after, it's an issue of interest to them. And specifically, they are concerned about certain provisions. Section 60 sub 3, about electronic transmission, which they say materially nothing actually has changed because the discretion still rests with the presiding officer at the polling unit. But that, however, in the 2023 election, by INEC's own admittance, about 95% of the coverage area for election, could use 2G. 2G was the one they cited specifically, and that the decision of the Senate, will frustrate other political parties and not allow free and fair competition. The second question, section of the Act that they query is Section 84, where the National Assembly prescribed only 2 modes of conducting primaries, either through direct primaries or consensus. And they say, no, that limits the scope of political parties, and the Parliament cannot dictate how political parties should run their affairs, that there should be indirect primaries, which in their estimation is more democratic. And they add that the Senate or the National Assembly cannot rely on Section 228 of the 1999 Constitution as justification. However, the Senate, our spokesperson has made it very clear that this is like crying foul when the horse has left the stable, complaining about abortion after the child has already been named. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu having signed that electoral bill into act on February 18. But a caveat was given that they can process their complaints through their representatives in parliament. And then, at the National Assembly, we'll still look at their complaints. So it's good for them to complain. It's also good for the National Assembly to say, we will look into your grievances. Whether they will do so or not before the election remains to be seen. But the residual point that we always make is that we want transparency in the elections. We want INEC to live up to its responsibility, and we want the outcome to be free, fair, and credible. The only part of it that I find curious is Waziri Adamawa Atiku Abubakar saying that their position is going to be circulated to all the foreign embassies in Nigeria. To come and do what? The responsibility for lawmaking resides with the National Assembly of Nigeria. It's not the embassies that will make laws for good governance of Nigeria. So I think that was a bit off point. But anyway, I'm sure he doesn't expect the embassies to come and interfere in how laws are made in Nigeria. Finally, the change of timetable amendment by INEC, is also expected. It's just what you expect after those amendments in the Electoral Act, and against the background of complaints about clash with Lent and Ramadan next year. So presidential election now, January 16, governorship and House of Assembly on February 6. Osun State election, also adjusted accordingly. Dates for primaries also adjusted accordingly. And the big point is that this is in line with the Constitution and provisions of the Electoral Act.
All right. They say that when I saw the headlines around the opposition parties and their position on the Electoral Amendment Act of 2026, I had to check the date again and again to ensure that it was not still news, old news that we're going to. I was like, are you just wake? And that's why you are saying that. But, there's an Igbo proverb that says, the day you wake up is your morning. However, the day you wake up, the train might have already have gone past and you're just chasing after it and might not catch up. And that goes to the fact that this is the conversation around the strength of the opposition. Yes, I have maintained that this administration has provided a hostile, almost inconducive environment for the opposition to thrive. However, there's still a place. And this is not the first time that this is happening. There's hardly any government that's made it an easy ride for opposition to thrive. But this particular opposition, a lot has plagued them. Internal fighting, unity, lack of cohesion. And so that has distracted them a lot from their role of real opposition. And so when you come after the facts to hold a joint press statement, I'm asking to what extent? How would that affect what I think they should do now, because the law has been passed? And yes, it's good that they would, history would record the fact that their voices have been heard, and maybe the embassies will feel the weight of these press conferences, but they have a right to, make their dissenting voice heard. What I would then say is that going forward, the truth is that the only way the opposition can truly be an opposition and be a viable opposition to the ruling party in the next election cycle is to get their acts together. Can they present in unity and cohesion a viable team to challenge the incumbent? Because if that doesn't exist, then they're just marking time and just wasting a lot of time and money. At the end of the day, there's so much as to who would emerge, who would be the party flag bearer, who is that, who is the head. It's such an encumbrance that they are not even able to pose a strong challenge, and that's quite a shame for democracy, because what we're looking for a thriving and vibrant democracy in the country is for opposition, for the Nigerian people to have a cocktail of choices come election time, and the best man or woman winning based on a free, fair and credible process. But when the opposition do not even give the people an opportunity to choose a candidate where it's recycled people aside from one or two people, then it becomes very difficult, and you're almost giving a free sailing, a free ride to the incumbent at the next election. So I think rather than holding joint press conference, let them hold, closed door meetings and sort out internal issues, and then come up with a good strategy ahead of 2027. The time is ticking and the train should not go past when they decide to wake up. But let me now go on to a story that I find quite interesting this morning, because I watched quite closely, and I love culture, and I believe that the Oluwari has really elevated the stool since he took on, that role. He ascended that throne. First Lady Oluwemi Tinubu, in a carnival-like homecoming, went to the Warri Kingdom, which is her maternal heritage. Now, the significance of this, of course, there are many things, and I'll point to them very quickly. But she was given a chieftaincy title. I mentioned that Otukpa Orishe, which is the light of God, meaning the light of God of Ishekiri land. And she said in her speech that was very insignificant for her. Of course, many people know that she's a pastor. She believes she's a Christian. And so being called the light of God in Ishekiri was quite, significant for her. Beyond that, she was also, and by the way, she was also given the Royal Order of Iwere award, which is a very prestigious award recognizing daughters or sons of the land who have distinguished themselves in different areas of expertise and and just done really well, shining the light of the Iwere Kingdom. She joins other notable people like Pasa Mamoka, Amaju Pene, Tara Feladro, Dr. Julius Rone, whom we saw in that report, as a recipient of that award. And she is actually, according to the Olu's speech, the first person to have both on the same day at the same time, a chieftaincy award and a Royal Order of Iwere, a chieftaincy title and a Royal Order of Iwere award. But beyond that was just to see a beautiful display of culture. The significance, number one, is that it's often said that a prophet is not without honor except in his hometown. But in this instance, she had honor in her own hometown, and you could almost see how emotional she got when she was giving the speech, such that she went into speaking the language itself. And I'm sure that would have warmed the hearts of a number of people there and even visitors at that particular homecoming. And I thought that was a brilliant, a master stroke. She spoke it very well and was very fluent in it. Even I could pick up a few things because I speak Yoruba and the languages are similar. Dr. Bata, I don't know if you heard, very similar. And I thought that was very heartwarming. Now she spoke about the significance of how the Ishekiri culture shaped her childhood into becoming the woman that she is. Talked about her elderly aged mother, whom will be very proud to see her daughter come home to such, a big carnival of welcome and reception. That was significant there. The other significance is the tourism potential this presents, and also the benefit to local business owners. We must always think of the small business owners. There was such a crowd and a lot of visitors to the Iwere Kingdom that, which has happened a number of times based on the initiatives of the Olu Warri, and that's why I said that he has actually significantly elevated a position. We have the Agigo, Ngigo Agofe as many carnivals, and we have often talked about tourism potentials for different communities, whether it be in Calabar, whether it be your festival in Lagos, and now in Warri, where we can bring in business for small business owners. I had to end here, and hopefully in the course of today's show I can talk about it, but I thought it was such a great ceremony in many regards, and it was a great homecoming for her. Later, I love it. It's great to be respected and honored from your own hometown, and that is what the Ishekiri people demonstrated to Senator Oluwemi Tinubu yesterday. Well, it's time.